Why should you tell a story in your art? Hey, my name is Andy, and today we're going to dive into this subject. So, telling a story, how will it help your artwork? Well, there are many different reasons. First of all, it'll give life to your drawing. It'll give it a purpose. So, when you look at great artworks by the masters, they usually tell a story, although maybe in some cases more prominent than others. In some cases, the story is more subtle and hard to find, but for the most part, it is very, you might say, obvious, either by what's happening in the painting or even you can use the title of the painting as a clue. So if you take some of the paintings by Jacques-Louis David, let's say The Death of Marat. So in that painting, we see a man in a bathtub that has been, when you look at it, it helps you kind of say, hey, what's going on in this painting? Why is he in the bathtub? Why is this? Why is that? What's happening? And it inspires curiosity. The story in the painting, although maybe subtle, although maybe obvious, help us dive into it. Look at it more, study it, be curious about the painting. And in my paintings, for example, I'll include different things happening. There need to be elements that add to it, that give it something that makes one think. In my opinion, not just a pretty picture, but something that will convey emotion and thought. One of the most interesting ones of these you might think about is the Mona Lisa, very famous. You probably know what that painting is, but what makes it so interesting and fascinating to people is her mouth and her lips. What's happening? Is she smiling? Is she maybe frowning or giving a sad face or a pout? What's really going on? Is it a smirk? Well, that's what keeps people going back and looking at it. And, they say every time you look at her from a different angle, from maybe on a different day, you see a different emotion in her face and mouth. Also, what's happening in the scenery? What's going on? Are there elements of buildings? What time of day it is? So all of this will help people not just say, nice drawing, but help people stop and say, okay, wait a minute, why is there a cat with glowing eyes? Why is there a jellyfish around the cat? I thought cats didn't like water. Well, why are there jellyfish swimming around the cat? Now, did I attribute meaning to all this? No. In my case, I did it just for fun, and I thought all these different things were fun, interesting to be together, and made it pretty, and that's why I, the artist, made this artwork. It doesn't always have to have great, deep philosophical meaning, but it does need to make people stop and pause and think, and that will hopefully get more eyeballs, more attention on your art. One exercise that I like to do with my students sometimes, my art students, is I'll give them 3 things to draw as a practice in one of my hour-long drawing classes. And I'll say draw, let's say, a kangaroo with a vacuum, and there is honey spilled somewhere in the scene. And then, that's an example, but then the student has to come in and create that from their imagination. They can use reference photos, but they have to build this scene. And one of my students, she did this, and she drew the kangaroo vacuuming up spilled honey. So maybe 2 exercises, and they don't have to be complicated drawings. They can be relatively simple, but you can go in and choose 3 or 2 or 3 or more subjects or things, and then combine them. Maybe it's a raccoon going out to get its mail and it sees a turtle or whatever. Maybe you're not drawing animals, that's what I specialize in, but have fun. Maybe it's not so realistic, maybe it's more fanciful. When I was first starting out with my art, um, about 10 years ago, I would do these pretty drawings, landscapes, I did portraits of animals, and they were nice, but after a while I got bored. And I said, well, okay, nice. I can draw a lion, I can draw a snake, or whatever it is. But you get to a point where you've achieved that in your skill level, and then you want to add more to it. You want to add elements that will be that for you as the artist can be fun to play with, to kind of construct a scene first in your imagination, then see what people, if you have people look at it, see what they say. Maybe you don't, maybe you do, whatever, but I have my drawings and paintings in my house, and when I have guests over, the ones that get the most attention are ones with animals, and what are they? Maybe the ones where there's a more of a story in it. But yeah, that's my thoughts on telling a story in your artwork. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.